Sophia signed her name slowly, carefully, as if the weight of the pen might shatter what little control she still had. She was 27 years old, college-educated, sharp-minded, and painfully aware of every decision that had led her to this moment. None of that mattered now. The paper beneath her hand was not just a document. It was a verdict. The room was quiet in a way that pressed against her ears, not the peaceful kind. The kind that existed only where power lived. Dark wood walls, soft lighting, a long table polished to a mirror finish. Across from her sat two lawyers who did not look surprised, emotional, or interested in her as a person. To them, she was a solution. Behind her stood her father. He looked smaller than she remembered. His shoulders curved inward, as if years of bad choices had finally bent him under their weight. He had not slept in days. She could see it in the red rims of his eyes, the way his hands trembled when he tried to steady them in his jacket pockets. "This is my fault," he had whispered an hour earlier. "I never wanted this for you." Sophia had not answered, not because she forgave him, but because anger took too much energy she no longer had. $200,000. That was the number that had erased her future. Not a hospital bill, not a business failure. Gambling debts stacked on gambling debts, borrowed from men who did not believe in second chances or payment plans. Men who broke bones as reminders. Men who had already come to her childhood home twice. The first time, they took the television. The second time, they took a door off its hinges. The third time, they promised it would not be furniture. So when the offer came, it did not sound like salvation. It sounded like surrender. Marriage, no romance, no illusion. A legal union in exchange for the debt disappearing completely. Clean records, no further contact. Protection extended to her father and younger sister. All of it handled quietly. The name attached to the offer had frozen her blood. Everyone in New York knew it. Anthony Colomo. He was not a man you saw often. He existed in whispers, in careful conversations that stopped when someone new entered the room. He was known for being precise, ruthless when necessary, untouchable always. Some called him a monster, others called him a businessman. Sophia had spent nights researching him, scrolling through grainy photos and articles that never said enough but somehow said too much. 34 years old, controlled multiple territories, no public scandals, no arrests, rumored executions, absolute loyalty from the men around him. She had expected someone loud, intimidating, cruel. When the door opened and he entered the room, her first thought was that he did not look like the devil. He was tall, dressed in a dark suit that fit him perfectly without trying to impress. No tie, white shirt open at the collar. His movements were economical, deliberate. He did not rush. He did not hesitate. His face was calm in a way that felt practiced but not empty. His eyes were dark, observant, missing nothing. He looked at her once. Just once. Not like prey, not like a possession, like a problem he intended to solve. "Miss Turner," he said, voice even low, "thank you for coming." She stood because it felt wrong to remain seated. "Thank you for offering this." He nodded slightly, no false modesty, no reassurance. The lawyers spoke. Terms were reviewed. Conditions outlined. Sophia listened, absorbing every word, because this was the last moment she would ever fully belong to herself. When the papers were slid across the table toward Anthony, he signed without pause. When they were slid toward her, her hand shook only briefly before she steadied it. That was the moment it hit her. This marriage would save her family. Her father would live. Her sister would be safe. The men who had haunted her sleep would disappear. And she would no longer be free. Anthony stood when it was done. He did not smile. "You are under my protection as of this moment," he said. "No one will ever come to your family again." Relief flooded her, so fast it nearly made her dizzy. Then he added, calmly, without cruelty, without apology, "But understand this. Once you walk out that door with me, there is no leaving. I do not cage people, Sophia. I do not chase runaways. If you choose this, you choose it completely." She met his eyes. There was danger there, not an anger, uncertainty. "Do you promise I will be safe?" she asked quietly. Yes. And my family. Yes. She swallowed. Then I agree. Anthony studied her for a long moment, something unreadable passing behind his gaze. Very well, he said. We leave now. As she followed him out of the room, Sophia did not look back. Some futures did not deserve a goodbye. The penthouse felt too quiet for a place that belonged to a man feared across an entire city. Sophia noticed it the moment the doors closed behind them. No music, no voices, no signs of life, beyond soft lighting and distant traffic below. The space was enormous, but restrained clean lines, dark colors, glass and stone. Nothing personal was on display. No photographs, no warmth, no proof that anyone truly lived here. Anthony removed his jacket slowly and placed it over the back of a chair. He did not look at her while doing it. Your room is to the left, he said. Mine is to the right. You will not be disturbed. Sophia blinked. Separate rooms. The realization loosened something tight in her chest. She had prepared herself for demands, for ownership, for entitlement, for fear. Instead, there was space. This is an arrangement, he continued, not unkind, not gentle, simply factual. I will not touch you unless you invite it. You will eat when you wish, sleep. When you wish, leave the apartment when escorted. Your safety is absolute. She nodded because she did not trust her voice. Her instincts told her to be cautious, but something else stirred beneath the fear. Curiosity. The first nights passed in silence. Anthony left early, returned late. She heard him through walls, sometimes moving, sometimes speaking quietly on the phone in languages she did not recognize. She stayed in her room, unpacking slowly, as if delaying acceptance might delay reality. But nothing bad happened. No raised voices. No slammed doors. No cruelty. At breakfast, he sat across from her reading, while she pushed food around her plate. He always waited until she ate before standing. She noticed it on the fourth morning. Why do you wait, she asked without thinking. He looked up surprised. Because people deserve to eat without being rushed. The answer stayed with her longer than it should have. Days turned into weeks. Anthony never asked where she went or who she spoke to. He did not monitor her movements or question her silence. Instead, he respected it. One evening, she wandered into the living room and found him watching an old film. Black and white images flickered across the screen. She hesitated. You can stay, he said without turning. She sat on the far end of the couch. The movie was about love after war, about rebuilding something broken. It felt too close to the truth. My grandmother loved this film, Anthony said quietly. She believed softness was strength. Sophia studied him, then really looked. Not the tailored suit or the controlled posture, but the tired eyes. The weight he carried. You do not seem like what people say about you, she said. People say many things, he replied. Some are true. Some are convenient. That night they talked. Not deeply, not dangerously. But honestly, she told him she loved books. He told her he had learned to read late. She said her father had made mistakes. He said everyone pays eventually. The power between them shifted subtly. Not gone, but tempered. Yet beneath the calm she felt it. The unspoken rule. The invisible wall. This life was safe, but it was not hers. One night, as she stood on the balcony staring at the city below, Anthony joined her. If you ever forget, he said softly, you chose this to protect them. Do not let guilt rewrite your strength. She turned to face him, and in that moment she understood. This marriage would never bruise her skin, but it would slowly erase her future. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet fear took root, because safety had come at a price, and the bill had only just begun. Sophia did not notice the moment fear stopped being the loudest thing in her chest. It happened quietly, in the spaces between shared meals, in the absence of threats, in the way Anthony never crossed a line she had not drawn. They began spending evenings in the same room, without planning to. She would read on the couch while he worked on his laptop. Sometimes hours passed without words. Sometimes conversation came easily. She learned his silences were not dismissive. They were deliberate. One night she asked why he never locked her. He looked up slowly. Because a locked door suggests imprisonment. You are here by choice. The words unsettled her. Choice was not a word she associated with this marriage. Yet the way he said made her question what she believed. She began to see the contradictions. Anthony who ordered men with a single glance. Anthony who rinsed his own coffee cup before leaving the kitchen. Anthony who corrected her gently when she mispronounced an Italian word. Anthony who never raised his voice. Trust crept in where fear once lived. Not fully. Never fully. But enough to be dangerous. One evening, she returned late after visiting her sister. She found Anthony in the kitchen cooking. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the air. You cook, she asked, surprised. He smiled faintly. My grandmother believed food was how you keep people alive in more ways than one. He handed her a plate. She ate standing at the counter. It was the best meal she had tasted in years. They laughed. Actually laughed. And the sound startled them both. That was when she noticed his hands. Strong, precise, steady. Hands that could create or destroy with equal skill. The realization sent a chill through her. Later that night she could not sleep. She wandered the penthouse restless. The city glowed below like a living thing. Anthony was already on the balcony. You cannot sleep either, he said without turning. No. They stood side by side. Close but not touching. Do you regret it, she asked quietly. He did not pretend not to understand. No. Do you? She hesitated. I regret that it had to be this way. So do I. For the first time he sounded tired. Something shifted then. Not love. Not yet. But recognition. They were both prisoners of choices made long before this contract. The next morning everything changed. She woke to raised voices. Not angry. Urgent. She followed the sound to the office hallway. The door was slightly open. Anthony stood inside with two men. The air was tense. You had clear instructions, Anthony said. His voice was calm but sharp like a blade. No deviation. The man pleaded. I panicked, I thought. The sound that followed was sudden and final. A single shot. Sophia gasped and stumbled back. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She fled to her room shaking. Pressed her hands over her mouth. Tears blurred her vision. This was the truth. Not the quiet evenings. Not the gentle words. This was who he really was. Later that night, Anthony knocked on her door. She did not answer. I know you heard, he said softly through the wood. You deserve honesty. She opened the door just enough to see him. The man was trafficking children, he said. I ended it. Her stomach twisted. That does not make it easier. I know. Silence stretched between them. You are afraid of me, he said. Yes. Good. Fear keeps you alive in my world. She met his gaze. And for the first time, saw something dangerous beneath the control. Not cruelty. Conviction. That night Sophia lay awake realizing the truth. She was falling in love with a man capable of killing without remorse. And somewhere deep inside her, she knew loving him might cost her everything. Sophia knew something was wrong before the doctor said a single word. The room smelled like antiseptic and quiet concern. She stared at the screen, unable to understand the shapes. Then the heartbeat came. Then another. Twins. The word echoed inside her head. Her hands trembled as she pressed them to her stomach. Life growing inside her. Not one but two. She walked out of the clinic in a fog. The city felt too loud, too bright. Her breath came shallow. Children. His children. By the time she reached the penthouse, night had already fallen. Anthony was not home. She paced the floor, thoughts colliding, fear, hope, disbelief. She had not planned this, had not imagined motherhood inside a life built on danger. But the idea of leaving suddenly felt impossible. She told herself she would tell him tomorrow, that she needed time, that this joy deserved calm. Then she heard voices. Low, controlled, urgent. From the office. She should have turned back, but her feet moved forward on instinct. The door was ajar. Inside, Anthony stood with a man on his knees. Blood stained the floor beneath him. Please, the man begged. I made a mistake. Anthony did not raise his voice. You made a choice. The sound came fast. Final. Sophia stumbled back. Her vision darkened. She pressed a hand to her mouth. Her stomach twisted violently. She ran, locked herself in the bathroom, fell to the floor. This was the truth. Not the man who cooked dinner. Not the quiet evenings. This. Her children would grow up hearing gunfire, learning fear, watching blood become normal. She could not do it. Anthony knocked gently later. Sophia did not answer. I will not come in, he said. But you need to know something. She did not open the door. He trafficked children. He hurt families. I ended it. Sophia slid down the wall. Tears fell silently. I know who I am, Anthony continued. I know what this world costs. If you ever choose to leave, I will not stop you. That was the lie. She could hear it. Because leaving him meant risking everything. That night she did not sleep. She sat on the bed, holding her stomach, whispering apologies to lives not yet born. By morning, she had made her choice. She packed only what she could carry. Left the phone behind. Left the jewelry. Left a letter. I cannot raise our children in a world built on death. Forgive me. She waited until the city slept, until Anthony was gone. Then she walked out. The bus station smelled like oil and loneliness. She bought a ticket with cash. Did not look at the destination long enough to regret it. As the bus pulled away, she pressed her forehead to the glass. The city blurred. Her future erased. She was running. Pregnant. Alone. But her children would live. And that had to be enough. Sophia learned that disappearing was not a single decision. It was 1,000 small choices repeated every day. She became someone else before the bus reached the end of the line. A different name. A different story. A woman with no past and no questions. The city she chose was small enough to disappear inside. Rain-soaked streets. Quiet people. Lives that did not look twice at strangers. She rented a tiny apartment with cash. Worked 2 jobs until her feet swelled and her back ached. Answered no phone calls. Left no trail. Pregnancy was lonely. No hands on her stomach. No shared wonder. Only fear mixed with fierce determination. At night she talked to the twins. Promised them safety. Promised them a world without blood. Promised them she would be enough. When the contractions came, she was alone. No family. No partner. Just pain and strength she did not know she possessed. 2 cries filled the delivery room. Strong. Alive. Luca first. Quiet, observant. Eyes already searching. Then Matea. Loud, furious at the world. Refusing silence. She wept as she held them. Relief. Terror. Love so sharp it hurt. The nurses asked about the father. She said he was not in the picture. She did not say his name. The birth certificates listed no father. The past erased with ink. The years that followed were hard. Sophia worked mornings and nights. Learned to sleep in fragments. Learned how to be 2 parents in one body. She watched her sons grow. Different but inseparable. Luca cautious, thoughtful. Matteo fearless, curious. Every laugh felt like victory. Every fever like a threat. Every knock on the door made her heart race. She moved again after a man asked too many questions. Changed jobs. Changed routines. She taught the boys rules. Never tell strangers your name. Never open the door. Always stay together. At night when they slept, she sat by the window, watching shadows, listening. Sometimes she dreamed of Anthony, of his quiet voice, his steady presence. She woke angry at herself. Love was dangerous. Love had nearly destroyed her. She convinced herself he had not searched, that she had been nothing more than a contract, that his world had moved on. But there were moments, subtle, unexplainable. A debt her father never mentioned being paid. A scholarship her sister did not understand. Help arriving without a source. Sophia refused to question it. Questions led backward. 3 years passed. The boys turned 3. Strong, healthy, happy. Sophia told herself she had won. She had outrun the past. She had broken free. Then the photograph arrived. An envelope slid under her door. No name. No return address. Inside a picture. Luca and Matteo in a park. Laughing. Unaware. Her blood turned cold. Someone was watching. Someone knew. The war she thought she escaped had only just begun. Sophia felt it before she saw him. That pressure in the air. That instinctive awareness that something powerful had entered her space. The bell above the bookstore door chimed softly. She looked up automatically. And the world stopped. Anthony stood just inside the door. Not in a suit. Not surrounded by men. Just him. Dark coat. Hands relaxed at his sides. Eyes locked on her like she had never left. The book slipped from her hands and hit the counter. The sound was too loud. Her heart began to pound so hard, she felt dizzy. No. This was not possible. She had been careful. She had erased herself. Sophia. His voice was quiet. Controlled. The same voice that once made her feel safe and terrified at the same time. I do not know you. The words left her mouth before she could stop them. Anthony stepped closer, but stopped short of the counter. 3 feet away. Enough to show restraint. Enough to show control. You look well, he said. Thinner, but strong. Leave. Please. You cannot be here. He placed a photograph face down on the counter. We can talk here. Or somewhere private. Your choice. Her hands shook as she flipped it over. Luca and Matteo. At the playground. Taken days ago. Her breath left her lungs. There is a cafe 2 blocks north. Anthony said. 10 minutes. Or I wait until your shift ends. He turned and walked out. Just like that. Sophia grabbed her coat without explanation. Her coworker called after her, but she did not hear. The cafe smelled like coffee and rain. Anthony was already there. 2 cups waiting. Black coffee. And vanilla latte. He remembered. How did you find me? She whispered. It took time. He said calmly. You were very good. But not invisible. You waited 3 years. I waited until you were stable. Until the boys were safe. Until I could face you without destroying everything. You knew. About them. He nodded. Twin boys. Luca and Matteo. 3 years old. Tears burned her eyes. You watched us. From a distance. Always. You had no right. I am their father. The words landed heavy. Unavoidable. I ran to protect them. She said. To keep them away from blood and guns. And instead you raised them alone. In fear. In poverty. looking over your shoulder every night. I did what I had to. So did I. He leaned forward, voice low. I tore down my empire, sold territories, ended operations, cleaned my world. Because you were right. She stared at him, unable to breathe. People are watching now. Anthony continued. Not me. Others. What do you mean? Someone is testing you. Testing me. Using our children. Sophia felt ice spread through her chest. I am here because hiding is no longer working. He said, no more running. I will protect them, with or without your permission. Fear and anger collided inside her. You cannot just come back and take over. I am not taking. I am reclaiming. He stood. 10 minutes. Then we go get the boys. No, she said sharply. Yes, he replied calmly. Because this time, you are not alone. And I will not let anyone threaten my sons. Sophia knew then. The past had caught up, and the man she loved and feared was not leaving again. Sophia realized fear had changed shape. It no longer lived only inside. It lived outside now. Watching. Waiting. The messages came first. Short. Precise. Cruel. Your sons laugh like their father. One is cautious. One is bold. Her phone nearly slipped from her hand. She stared at the screen as if it might bite her. Anthony was standing across the room, speaking quietly into his phone. The moment he looked at her face, he knew. Show me, he said. She handed him the phone. He read without expression, but something dark settled behind his eyes. This is not random, he said. This is deliberate. Another message arrived. A photograph this time. The boys asleep. Taken from outside their window. Sophia could not breathe. Someone had been there. Close enough to see them dream. I told you hiding was no longer working. Anthony said softly. But I also told you I would protect them. She shook her head. I do not want men with guns near my children. Then we leave, he said without hesitation. Within hours, everything changed. Cars arrived. Men who did not speak much, who watched everything. Anthony moved through it all with calm authority. Issuing instructions. Adjusting plans. You dismantled your world, she said suddenly. You said you cleaned it. I did, he replied. But enemies do not disappear when power does. They test. They probe. They look for weakness. And the boys are that weakness. She whispered. No. Anthony corrected. They are my strength. Which is why I will end this. That night, they did not sleep in the apartment. Anthony took them to a house hidden among trees. Secure. Quiet. Removed. The boys thought it was an adventure. Matteo laughed. Luca watched everything. Sophia lay awake listening to the forest. Every sound felt like danger. Anthony sat at the table across from her. Maps. Phones. Names. I need to tell you something, he said. She braced herself. When you left, I did not look for you right away. Anger flared. Then confusion. Why? Because you were right, he said. About the world. About me. I stepped back. Sold what I could. Burned bridges. Lost men. Lost money. All because of a letter. She said. All because of you. The truth settled heavy. He had changed not to win her back, but to become someone his children could live with. The house alarms triggered just after midnight. Anthony was on his feet instantly. Get the boys. Nah. Gunfire cracked through the night. Distant. Then closer. Sophia ran on instinct. hard in her throat. Anthony ushered them into a hidden room. Steel. Concrete. Safety. You stay here, he said. No matter what. She grabbed his arm. Do not leave. I will return. He promised. The door sealed. Sophia clutched the boys as screens flickered to life. Men in black. Weapons. Shadows moving through trees. Anthony appeared on one screen. Commanding. Focused. An attacker broke through. Anthony intercepted. A shot. Anthony fell. Sophia screamed without sound. Then he moved. Returned fire. Ended it. Blood stained his shoulder. But he stood. The threat retreated. When the door finally opened, Anthony walked in wounded but alive. Papa. Mateo cried. Anthony dropped to his knees. Holding them. I told you. He said. No one touches my family. Sophia watched him. The protector. The danger. The man who would burn the world for his children. And she knew. This war was far from over. The mountain house did not sleep after the attack. Neither did Sophia. The boys were finally resting bundled together on the couch, their small chests rising and falling in exhausted rhythm. Sophia sat on the floor beside them, one hand always touching just to reassure herself they were real and breathing. Anthony sat across the room, his injured shoulder wrapped in white gauze, stained faintly red. He looked carved from stone. Still. Focused. Dangerous. You should be resting, she said quietly. Later. He replied. I am needed awake. Sophia studied him in the low light. This was the man she had tried to run from. And the man who had just taken a bullet for their children, without hesitation. Which one was real? Both. That truth frightened her more than the gunfire. The security feeds continued to play silently on the screens. Forest paths. Empty now. Too quiet. They wanted to draw me out, Anthony said finally. Force my hand. They think I still care about territory, power, reputation. And you do not. I care about only one thing. He looked at the boys. They underestimated how little everything else matters to me now. Sophia hugged her knees. I saw you out there. On the screens. Yes. You did not hesitate. No. You could have died. He met her gaze. I would have if it meant they lived. The words were not dramatic. They were fact. Something inside Sophia broke open. A wall she had built and reinforced for 3 years. You scare me, she whispered. I know. But you trust me with them. Her throat tightened. Yes. That is everything, Anthony said. Later, when the boys stirred, Anthony helped Sophia carry them upstairs. Each movement careful because of his injury. Yet he did not complain. After they were settled, Sophia returned with the medical kit. Sit. She ordered. A faint smile touched his mouth. She cleaned the wound again, hands steady despite her racing heart. Every line of his body spoke of restraint, of power held tightly in check. Why did they really come here, she asked. Anthony exhaled slowly. Because someone told them where we would be. Her head snapped up. What? This was not a random probe. Not opportunists. This was planned. By who? Anthony was silent too long. Someone I trusted. He said. Someone who believed I was weak for leaving the old world. Sophia felt ice crawl down her spine. Your inner circle. Yes. The betrayal settled heavy. If someone that close could turn, then nowhere was truly safe. I will handle it, Anthony said calmly. How? By ending this completely. She stared at him. What does that mean? It means I stop pretending I can exist halfway. I will not balance power and peace anymore. He leaned forward, voice low. I will trade everything I have left. Every favor, every secret, every ounce of influence. For one thing, permanent protection for my family. Sophia swallowed. And if they refuse, they will not. His certainty was terrifying, because I am offering them something they cannot ignore. A future without me. You will walk away. I already have. This is just making it official. She searched his face and realized he meant it. He was ready to erase himself from the world he once ruled. All for them. Anthony, she said softly. He looked at her. I never asked you to come back. Never demanded forgiveness. But if you are here now, if you choose to stay, I need you to understand something. She waited. I am not the man I was, but I will always be capable of becoming him. If someone threatens my children, the honesty cut deep. Sophia stepped closer, resting her forehead against his. I am not running again, she said. His breath caught. Whatever comes next, we face it together. He closed his eyes briefly, as if the weight of the world shifted. Together, he agreed. Outside, the forest stood silent, waiting. And somewhere far away, a man who believed the past still owned Anthony Coloma was about to learn how wrong he was. Morning arrived without comfort. Gray light crept through the trees like a witness that refused to look away. Sophia stood at the window, holding a mug she had not touched. Anthony had been on the phone since dawn. He did not raise his voice. He did not pace. That was how she knew something irreversible was happening. When he finally ended the call, he looked older. Not tired. Resolved. They know where we are, he said. Her stomach dropped. How? Because someone told them. Someone close. She had expected that answer. Still, it cut deep. Who? Anthony hesitated only once. Marco. The name hit her like a physical blow. The man who had once brought groceries. The man who had joked with the boys. The man Anthony had trusted since childhood. He thought I was finished. Anthony continued. Thought stepping away from power meant weakness. He wanted my place. And he used our children to force your return. Anthony nodded. To force me back into the life I left. Sophia felt fury rise hot and sharp. He took photos of them. He watched them sleep. Anthony's jaw tightened. Yes. What happens to him? Anthony did not answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the table and laid out documents. Signatures. Names. Territories. I am ending this. Completely. She stared at the papers. You already did not want power. This is different. This is renunciation. You are giving them everything. Everything except my family. Sophia understood then. This was the final move. The one no one expected. I will offer the 5 families every remaining asset. Every secret. Every alliance. In exchange for one rule. Our family is untouchable. And Marco. Anthony's voice hardened. Marco will never come near us again. How? By making him irrelevant. Stripped of backing. Stripped of protection. Exposed. Sophia searched his face. This is dangerous. So is letting it continue. The meetings happened within 48 hours. Neutral ground. Cold rooms. Careful men. Anthony did not threaten. He did not beg. He offered them peace. And fear. A future without him. Or a war they could not afford. They chose survival. By nightfall, the agreement was sealed. Every family signed. Every claim erased. Anthony Coloma was officially finished. When he returned to the mountain house, Sophia was waiting. The boys slept upstairs, unaware their world had just changed forever. It is done, he said quietly. She stepped forward. touched his chest. So no one will come. No one. Ever. Tears filled her eyes. You gave up everything. Anthony shook his head. No. I kept the only thing that mattered. Silence settled between them. Heavy. Sacred. Sophia reached for his hand. I choose you. His breath caught. Not because I am afraid. Not because I am trapped. Because you fought for us. Because you changed. Because you are their father. And because I still love you. Anthony pulled her into his arms. Careful of his shoulder. Uncareful with his heart. I will spend the rest of my life earning that love. Outside, the forest stood calm. The war was over. And the man who once ruled from shadows had chosen light. The final move had been made. Not with bullets, but with sacrifice. No more running. No more fear. Only forward. The house felt different after the war ended. Not quieter, but lighter. Sophia noticed it in the way the boys laughed without looking toward the windows. In the way she slept through the night for the first time in years. In the way Anthony moved through the rooms, no longer listening for danger. They left the mountains a week later. Not in secrecy. Not running. They drove toward a future chosen, not escaped. The new home was not a fortress. It was warm. Open. Sunlight spilled across wooden floors. There was a backyard where the boys could run. A kitchen where meals would be loud and messy. This is home, Luca said softly on the first night. Yes, Sophia answered. It is. Anthony did not correct him. He only watched. Eyes full. Days settled into rhythm. School drop-offs. Bedtime stories. Morning coffee shared in silence. Anthony became someone visible. A father at the park. A man who waited in pickup lines. A presence that no longer hid in shadows. One evening, as the boys slept, Sophia stood on the porch watching the stars. Anthony joined her holding a small box. I took something from you once, he said quietly. Your choice. She turned to him. I am asking now. Not as a contract. Not as a promise forced by fear. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, strong, unmistakably chosen. Sophia Turner. I am choosing you. Again. Her breath caught. I choose you too. She whispered. He slipped the ring onto her finger. And this time, there were no papers. No witnesses. Only certainty. They married quietly. Under open sky. The boys held hands between them, laughing when Anthony stumbled over his words. The vows were simple. Real. I will stay. Sophia said. I will protect. Anthony answered. Months passed. Life grew inside her again. A softer miracle. A daughter. The boys argued over names. Anthony stayed silent until one evening. Rosa, he said. For my grandmother. Sophia smiled. Rosa. The night their daughter was born, Anthony cried without shame. Held her like glass. Like light. The boys hovered close. Protective. Proud. Years later, Sophia would look back on the moment she ran. And understand. Running had not saved her. Love had. Love that demanded courage. Chain. Sacrifice. The man she once feared had burned his kingdom. To build a home. And she had stopped running. Not because she was cornered, but because she had finally found a place worth staying. If you enjoyed this story, take a moment to subscribe. Your support helps keep these stories alive.